blocking out all we can see. We ask ourselves the same old question: who will be there for me?
Hello, this is Daryl Pillsbury here again with Richard Davis from the Vermont Citizens Campaign for Health, or whatever
that's it.
It's VCCH anyway. Yeah. And we're here to give you a little bit of update on what's going on up in Montpelier with the healthcare debate and what's going on with H202. The first thing we're going to talk about, though, is the Mullen Amendment, because Senator Mullen from Rutland was there when I was there. He's a semi-conservative Republican from that area.
Well, I think he's more liberal.
He's changing a little bit.
A little more
he's conservative in some ways, but he has. And then health care, he voted for it, which I think was a big step. But he did put in an amendment, Richard, and you might want to just explain a little bit what his amendment does, and things like that.
Well, let's backtrack a tiny bit. So the H202, the bill passed the House by mostly along party lines. So then it went to the Senate. In the Senate Health and Welfare Committee last Wednesday, which would have been, let's see, because we better put a date on that. So that was, today's the
18th, so take away, what's that, the 13th?
11th, 13th. Okay, so on April 13th, the Senate Health and Welfare Committee, after spending a considerable amount of time on this bill, and the night before they did it till like 8 or 9 o'clock, they passed the bill on a 5-0 vote. But what, you know, and that was sort of somewhat predictable. It could have been 4-1, but the reason it was 5-0 is because one of the people on the committee, who's been on the committee for many years, Senator Kevin Mullen of Rutland County, Senator Mullen offered an amendment to the bill that, you know, some of the purists from the single-payer camp don't like it because they think it sets restrictions. But if you want to talk about it, that there's like 5 points. And the reason I think this is important is because this is the kind of stuff that true compromise is all about. It's not symbolic. This is real. This is like, okay, Senator Mullen was having a hard time with the bill, but he wanted some guarantees that it wouldn't cross certain lines in certain areas. And I don't think his demands are all that unreasonable. You know, it could get changed at some point. But the rest of the committee was able to go along with his amendment. And I was there when he introduced it, and there was no contentiousness
now,
at all.
Who's on the
committee?
Okay,
Claire Eyre is the chair, Anthony Polina, Sally Fox, and Hinda Miller.
Ah.
So it's an interesting committee.
It is an interesting
because Hinda Miller is a more conservative Democrat.
Yeah.
Represents the business community.
But you got two liberals there with
Sally
and Fox.
Yeah, and Claire she's not totally conservative, but you know, she's a chair, so she's more careful. And
yeah.
So I think that it's a good group of people, and so anyway, that was what happened, and I think that's an indication of how this bill is going to fare in the Senate. At least that's what other people think too. It'll probably be 26-4 like the other votes, or there might be a few more Republicans voting against it. I don't know, but there's no doubt that it's going to pass.
So there's no doubt it's going to pass. It's going to pass this session. They get 202 passes with whatever changes are going to happen now. What is that going to mean for the average person in Vermont? Let's say, well, Joe, I'm sorry, but I'm going to use you. What's going to happen to the average Joe?
Average Joe Bushy.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
Well,
is he going to see any effect? Is he going to be able to reap some rewards?
Not yet. What this bill is all about is setting the stage for setting up a system. So you have to put it in perspective. We want to get from point A to point B. Now, we're at point A. This bill is not point B. If point B is the end.
We've been at point A.
Yeah, for a long
time, Richard.
But we've made, this bill is more progress than we've ever made, and it sets the stage for the next step. It sets out the basic principles for a changed healthcare system. It doesn't include financing. It doesn't include benefits. So next year, we have to go back and we have to work on it. there really won't be anything in this bill, as far as I can tell, that anybody's going to directly benefit from. There's a few things, but generally, the one thing that's going to happen, and this will be, I believe, next year, 2012, we have to comply with the federal law in terms of exchanges, which means Vermont has to set up at least 2 insurance companies to be part of an exchange. But the ultimate goal in this bill is to have a system where we comply with the federal law but only have one insurance company that we're dealing with, which is basically a single payer plan. And that's where this is going to get more contentious, because we really can't do that until we get the permission from the federal government to not play by the rules they set up.
So, Richard, let's go over some of the basic principles of Senator Mullen, which, from what I can tell,
1 through 5 there.
Well, there's actually 6.
Oh, okay, 6.
Okay. We have, like, number 1 is each Vermont resident covered by Green Mountain Care will receive benefits with the actual value of 80% or greater. I don't even know what that means.
Okay, actuarial value of 80%. What that means is it's that 80% of the cost of the policy will go for actual health care. So there won't be more than 20% going for an administrative cost.
Okay, well, all
At
right.
least that's what I think it means, because he generally uses the word medical loss
All right,
ratio.
well, I think, though, the 20%, even though I know everybody's got to suck it up here, well, there's the first place where I'm sucking it up, because to me, 20% even for administrative costs is too much.
Just so you understand it, Blue Cross is already up to 85, 88%, so we're above that in Vermont.
Good.
So that's not a problem.
All right, well, then now number 2 is implementation of Green Mountain Care will not have a negative aggregate impact on Vermont's economy. Now, how in the world are you going to figure that out?
Well, that's a tricky one. These are vague enough so that they might not be a problem. However, some people, single-payer supporters, have said that that could create a problem, because, say, IBM starts complaining and crying that they're losing money.
Which they've already did and they're going to do.
That could make that one kick in. One company, but it's all a matter of how you interpret it. Is that really a negative? What does it say? Negative aggregate impact? Well, no, that's just a specific negative impact. Right. There's ways around it, but I think what Senator Mullen was aiming at is that he wants
he's aiming at something that he could vote yes on.
Right. He is, but I think he also has enough integrity to not want to torpedo the whole system. I think it's vague enough so that you can get around it, I think.
Well, we're going to find out. That financing for Green Mountain Care is sustainable. Well, we don't have sustainable health care financing now. How is this really going to...
Well, he didn't say for how long, so there's another out.
All right.
It could be sustainable for 6 months.
6 months? Yeah, I guess. And then it can all go down there.
What's the definition of sustainable? So another vague principle. Fine, I have no trouble because it's so vague you can't even...
Well, that's the problem with this thing. I mean, it is so vague that I
made
don't
him
understand.
feel good.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. This is.
So he can sleep at night.
If you put this in here, I'll vote for it.
Right.
All right. So let's put in the let's get you to
vote.
That's
all right. That's really...
Administrative expenses will be reduced. Well, he already covered that with number 1.
But we're hoping that.
Although that's where my big kicker is. That's the one spot where I think we do need to.
And there's no point in doing this if you're not going to reduce some of the administrative.
And a lot of the people that would feel different than you and me about the whole single payer thing thinks that, well, it should be whatever and, let it just run on its own and let all these people make. For me, a guy running an insurance company making millions of dollars, it's incredibly wrong because those are healthcare dollars that could have been to treating somebody instead of somebody being able to buy another yacht.
Right, another yacht.
And it just boggles my mind.
But really, when you think about it, there's a problem with that one too, because if we don't work at a single payer system and we still have multiple payers, then we may not realize any administrative costs, and that wouldn't be our goal. But so
that's good, but that's a good one.
Well, it's good, but
I like that one a lot, though. I mean, I hope we do get to do that.
But the only way it's going to happen is to get rid of all the insurance companies.
Yeah, I agree. But then if you do that, you're going to have a problem with Vermont's economy, because if you do that, you're going to get rid of a few jobs, because there's a lot of people that work chasing the money.
The aggregate.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
we're going to re-educate them.
All right, I'm going to need a lot of that again.
Yeah.
Cost containment efforts will result, this is number 5,
Yeah.
cost containment efforts will result in a reduction in Vermont's per capita healthcare spending below the rate of growth in per capita healthcare spending nationally.
Well, see, that's a problem because we're already above it.
Yeah.
We're above the number, I forget what it is.
That's because we actually have good outcomes,
right,
and we spend a lot of it now.
Yeah, that may be totally unattainable. I don't know about that one, but we'll see.
Well, if that, okay.
You know, we'll see, because...
Well, that's not a good answer, though, Richard.
Well, what do you want me to say?
I know you can't do it.
I don't know what the
answer.
answer.
Skip number 5.
I don't know what the answer is. I think some of these are a little ridiculous.
Well, so do I.
But
and like I said at the beginning, this is to get a couple people to vote for a bill.
that's all it is.
And
I think these are
ridiculous.
These are unenforceable.
Yeah, that's the other problem.
So
this is the all feel good.
Right,
Well, this is the reason I voted for it, because we're going to have the.
So Kevin Mullen's going to sleep at night, but I don't know if he really made a difference.
No, I don't think he. Well, he made a difference by voting yes.
Yeah, he
so
did.
That was the difference.
Yeah.
And thank you, Kevin, for that.
Yeah, I mean, I still appreciate what he did.
Yeah, me too. I like the guy. He was a good. Well,
he always asked me about you.
Yeah, we did a lot of our.
You're socializing.
Yeah,
I know, Daryl.
Healthcare professionals will be reimbursed at levels sufficient to allow Vermont to recruit and retain high-quality healthcare professionals. That is a problem. Right now, the hospital. Well, we're doing all right, but you know, we've got a lot of people coming up for retirement. I mean, that whole group of doctors that came in at that one time, they're all getting close to
all the ones that are close to my age, a little older.
That's right. All the ones you knew and I knew.
Yeah.
They're getting ready to go. So we definitely need to try and get some more healthcare professionals.
Oh, yeah.
And from my experience, just looking on the outside at our, a lot of the doctors that just do, you know, what do you call the
primary
care physicians. We're losing them left and right, and part of it is because it's so hard for them to run an office.
Well, they can't run an office. They have to go work for the hospital, and then they get screwed by the reimbursement system because what they do isn't valued as much as cutting somebody open and doing something.
Yeah.
And,
the whole thing's unbelievable.
And there's a major...
And that's where you're saving the dollars.
Right, but there's a major shortage of primary care physicians in Vermont, and the legislation does try to address some of that. The prior legislation in '06 was addressing some of that with loan repayment forgiveness and other recruitment stuff. So
I think one of the other things we should be using, and I'm sure we do, but I think the quality of life in the state of Vermont, how come we do not use that? I live here for the quality of life we have. Oh man, we're good on education, we're good on healthcare results for our children and stuff, clean water. I mean, you know, it ain't always about the money. I guess for a lot of people it is, but anyway, that's my little rant.
Okay. So those are the 6 Mullen principles.
Which are...
And I don't think they're going to be enough to sway somebody like Randy Brock to vote for it.
No.
You know, he's pretty far out there.
No, but you're not going to, you know what?
You're never going to change
You're never going to get
those.
150 votes out of there anyway.
No.
If you could come out with 100 votes, you'd be doing...
no, this is the Senate.
100.
We already get the House.
Oh, wait, the Senate, that's
Senate.
right.
So they only need, 30? They only need 16 votes.
Yeah, and you'll have 20 or more.
I think...
Matter of fact, talking with Senator Galbraith just a little while ago, we talked a little on health care, and Campbell's, he's not going to be a problem.
No, I mean, that was way back when he was thinking that, but
yeah.
It's clear the train left the station, and it's not...
Yeah, you better get on board, too.
This session isn't ending without this bill passing.
That's right.
Because one of the
reasons... They want
reasons...
to be out of there on May 7th, which I know that probably won't happen.
It's not going to happen,
but because of the pressure on the budget, and you want to save money...
Well, so the bottom line is, it's become clear the bill's going to pass, and that it's going to pass this session. And I think the big reason that they're pushing hard for it to pass is because there's so much more work to do beyond this. They don't want to...
And that's where the key... That's why I'm glad we're passing this, and now everybody can feel good about that if they want. But and I'm happy about that part. But there's still so much more to do
here's what's
because all the details are coming up next.
Well, here's what's going to happen. I met with the governor about a month or so ago. Had a private meeting with him and some other people, and what he told me, we agreed actually to work on a special. What he wants to do, he knows that when the session ends, he's still going to have to sell the bill between now and the next session.
Yeah.
Got to keep it going. So what the governor wants to do is he wants to go around the state. he said he wanted to do like a PowerPoint presentation, go around the state and sell the next steps and make the momentum, keep the momentum going.
Yeah.
And so he's going to count on organizations like mine and other the organizations that have been supporting the legislation to get people to show up. He's thinking about maybe bringing Bernie with him to guarantee a good turnout.
Yeah, that's not a bad move.
No.
I tell you, the governor in my mind is, for his first year in, has, been a leader.
Well, here's what this is really cool. When I met with him, of course this was a month or two ago, he was really proud of the fact that he hadn't cut any ribbons. Anyway, he's doing stuff. He's
doing stuff.
He's not out
One
there.
of the things, though, that I got to say, he came down to the hospital. I don't know if you heard any of this or if you were even in the room. I don't know if you went to that.
No.
They had a big powwow, as they do every year, and he went in, and he was pretty hard on him, telling him, you had best find somebody to jump on board with,
Yeah.
or you guys are going to be toast.
Uh-huh.
And that scared the crap out
Well,
of him.
good, because he's not candy coating anything. Even when he met with IBM last week,
Yeah,
they didn't agree on anything.
yeah.
All they did was they listened to his point of view and he listened to theirs, and that was it.
Yeah, well.
So
No, hey, we'll see what happens. There's
I
one
think
thing
he's
about him.
hanging
He
tough.
is a doer, and he's tough.
Well,
and
if this
he's
bill,
got it down.
if
And
this,
like they say about chess game, he's already got the next couple
right,
plays already figured
but
out.
if this bill passes this session, then you got a governor who kept the campaign promise pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I mean, we didn't get
but
to.
he knows he's got to do
We
that.
didn't get to the end game. But,
That's one of his 200.
yeah, but Vermont Yankee, did you see this morning? Vermont Yankee filed a lawsuit.
Yeah.
It's starting already.
You knew that. You know
All
what?
right,
And
don't
that
get me
irritates
going.
me, even though we're talking about health care.
I know.
But that one right there irritates me. I hate it. You bring somebody to the table, you make an agreement, and then
They cried.
And that's what happened
Crybabies.
40 years ago when they told us it passed by one vote, and they told us that we would never have the waste stored on the banks of the Connecticut River, and that's why they got the 3 votes they
Right.
needed to make it pass by one vote.
Right, and
They lied.
I still believe in the tooth fairy.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're not done yet. We still got a ways to go here.
I know.
And some of the major parts of the bill. Okay, can you explain to me a little bit more about the Green Mountain Care Board
All right, let me look at my cheat
cheat
sheet.
sheet?
Well, this is one of the most contentious issues in the bill, is that a board would be created of 5 members, and they will essentially decide the benefits package and the costs and all that, but it still has to be approved by the legislature. So that didn't sit right with people in the House. So what they ended up doing was they created a nominating committee, essentially, a nominating board to get the names of the people, vet them, after the governor makes a recommendation, and then they'll make a recommendation. It's still ultimately up to the governor to pick them. And then they also created an advisory committee to help work with the board. And then in the most
Are
recent
you going to
version,
be on that? Are you going to be on any of that?
someone owes me. No.
Yeah, no, you got. I mean, you better be on
This
something.
is high-level stuff. I'm just a low-level. Anyway, we'll see.
But we
We'll
need
see.
low-level
We'll
people
see.
there that know what the hell's going on.
gonna-
Because I found out when all the high-level people show up, they forget
Right.
some of the.
Well, I'm going to make a case for somebody that has practical experience.
Yeah.
33 years as a nurse ought to count for something.
and very active
But
since 1992 that I know of. been very
Everybody and
active
their
in this.
brother wants to be on this thing now.
Oh, really?
Oh man, you can't imagine. All right, so
Really?
I think
Do
so.
they understand the work? And
Well, anyway, so here's the way it's going to come down. So there'll be an advisory board. They recently created an administrative position to actually help do some work, like the dirty work. Anyway,
how much was that?
I don't know if there's money in it, but that's why this board is going to cost, I forget what the figure was. Anyway, there's going to be a chair of the board. It'll be a full-time state employee, I believe, or an exempt employee. And then there are other members in their rotating terms. They can be reappointed. But let me just read you the 3 basic things that the Green Mountain Care Board would do. And Green Mountain Care refers to the health insurance plan that we create. Designs a more sensible way of paying health care providers. Okay. What that refers to is that right now most of the way we pay is fee for service. The more you do, the more you get paid. What we want to move towards is a system where you pay the doctors and the providers a lump sum per patient per year. If they spend less per patient, the doctor keeps it. If you spend more, they
That's
eat
kind
it.
of what CHP did.
Yeah, that's
I
managed
mean,
care.
you got a certain amount of money for everybody that
Yeah.
you had on the list. And,
Right.
yeah.
And then what else the board would do is control the overall rate of healthcare growth to align more closely with our ability to pay, which means they'd look at the budgets and then they'd look at how much. So this is a big issue. That's a lot of work. And then they would recommend the benefits package, but I think, from what I understand in the legislation, I think it still has to be approved by the legislature. So they would be it's a little more than an advisory role. I don't know if they have, everybody's worried that they have too much power, but I think there's checks and balances with the legislature that has to approve all these major things that they might come up with. So,
because the legislature is not going to give up its power that easily.
No. So, but this board will really be the one that actually.
How many members is it supposed to have?
It's 5, as far as I know so far, and the board will actually design the healthcare system.
Wow.
So the way this might come down is, if this legislation passes the way it is now, the board will start working. I believe they start.
Con Hogan will be on that.
See, I shouldn't say this. I mean, Con Hogan's a good guy and everything. We need some fresh blood.
That's what I'm saying. You're going to get all the same old people that are going to be doing this stuff that have their.
I mean, I have a lot of respect for him.
I
and
do
he's a
too.
good guy, but it's time for a fresh. If we're going to have a new system, we have new people.
Yeah.
That's my feeling.
I mean, and these, because it's been talked about and talked about. Oh my God. Well, we're getting closer. If this passes, at least we do have a framework, and then we.
Yeah, I wanted to find out when that. I was reading this today, and every time.
This is the bill right here.
Yeah, every time I read it,
here, I
fall
just want to let
asleep.
people see we've got, and it's only 140 pages.
Only 140
That's
plus
not
the
too bad.
amendments. But I forgot. I was reading it today. The board, when they'd actually start doing their work, and I think.
Well, I think it's at the first of the year, ain't it?
I'm
You got to
not
pass
sure.
the bill first, then there should be a date.
Yeah.
But I would imagine this board's got to be up and running, and
Pretty soon.
well, they're not going to. You're not. Once this passes, they're not doing anything in the second session, are they? Next year.
Yeah, they're gonna. I mean,
And then the board's going to
I
have to be
don't
up and
know.
running and give a
I don't-
report to
I
them
don't
by
know. I have to talk to the
by the
governor, because he's, like you
January.
said, he's 2 steps ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
So we have to have some goals for the next year of the biennium, because we can't just sit on our hands.
the. No.
So the governor, I assume, if he does this dog and pony show around the state, he's going to outline what the next steps are for the next session, the year of the session, because we're going to have to develop the financing and the benefits. So maybe that's something we can work on.
And we are being watched by the country.
Tell me, I guess got invited to Denver.
You did?
Yeah, I got to do a presentation.
Really?
Yeah.
You're doing the presentation?
Yeah.
So they pay you.
Well, it's a small group. It's all the single
Well,
pay.
they pay you to get there.
No, my group will pay for it. But we're talking.
Good thing I donated $20.
Yeah. Well, no, this is a lot of the single payer organizations around the country, because I've been talking to these people ever since we started working on this.
And so
they're
what's
all
the take
watching
on-
us.
Okay, so you're talking to them, they're watching us. Are they excited? Are they?
Oh yeah. Oh, this is like the best thing that ever. They're just so excited. They're hoping for us. They want to. What can we do? It's like, this is the great hope. It's like Vermont is so far ahead of everybody else. If they can pull this off, we'll all be better off, and then we can do something too.
And
they
what's
know.
the lobbying on this? Do you know?
What do you mean?
I mean, I would imagine that we got drug companies and everybody coming in going, "Oh my God, we don't want them doing that."
Well, the biggest lobbying, at least what I can tell at this point, is it's the larger businesses in Vermont, IBM and the coalition they created.
Yeah.
They've been lobbying like crazy, but the good news
Remember the
is...
same group that told us if Vermont Yankee goes, they're going to lose
Right,
too.
right. But the good news
gotta
is
love 'em.
they had 4 amendments that they wanted. You know how many are in this bill?
None. That's right. Good.
So, and I have to believe that this grassroots activity by, especially Vermont Workers Center, my group, we blasted the senators when IBM started whining, and they
They
didn't buy
have
it.
too much clout. If people got
Well,
to
not
really see
anymore.
what they... Well, I'm talking about with electric rates.
Yeah.
Do you know they pay the cheapest electric rate in the state? Because they came to the legislature
Well-
crying and said they were going to leave. And first thing is, anybody who comes to me and threatens me, with leaving.
That's it.
I'll write you the damn check
Right.
to say sayonara.
Yeah.
And I know there's people out there going, I'm an idiot,
Well-
but they're doing that because of all the jobs and stuff. But I'll tell you what, I don't want anybody
Well,
running roughshod over me because all of us pay extra money so they can get it for cheaper.
Well, listen,
And they still move.
IBM's profit last year,
Yeah, billions.
4.1 or
Billion.
4.6 billion dollars.
And how much do you think they paid in taxes?
Yeah, probably one of those groups that paid zero.
Less than me.
But the interesting
Less than
thing,
me.
and this is the point you were just making. They've been getting tax breaks from Vermonters ever since they existed, and they've benefited more from money that you and I have been scraping to get by on, our tax money.
But people don't see
and
that.
here they are complaining about not getting a fair shake. Give me a break.
Yeah.
And they've lost the sympathy factor.
Yeah, well, good.
And they, so it's all over. We almost finished?
What's
Two
the
more
matter?
minutes.
You bored?
No, 4 minutes.
Oh, 4
No,
minutes.
I'm not bored.
Oh, I was like, what's the matter?
No,
You
no,
ready to go?
just
You got another date?
No, I'm just keeping track of things.
Yeah.
No, so, wait. Well, we had some other issues.
There's tons of issues.
But the board itself, it's a big issue, and
that's why I brought it up, because that's the one I keep hearing, because this is like your Sarah Palin's death panel.
Yeah.
It's not quite like that,
If the
right?
bill passes, if the bill passes, though, that'll be one of the first things that happens is that Shumlin will probably give out a few names, and then the nominating committee will vet everybody. And I'd apply, I mean.
Are you going to apply?
I would.
Yeah, well, you should.
They have
You
my
should
resume.
let
They
them
already
know.
have my resume.
Okay, because you should. You should,
But
Richard.
I don't think I'd be considered seriously.
Well, I think that would be a mistake,
Well-
especially since you're the one that goes to Washington. You're the one that goes, hey, who cares?
Well,
I think it would be a mistake.
I'll have a little chat with the governor.
Yeah, you should over coffee. He was here today.
Was he?
Yeah, he came down for the fire thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then I don't think we want to get into the whole thing with the exchanges because it's so complicated.
No.
But
and since we've only got like 2 minutes
well,
left, now,
here's what. When you ask me, is this going to help anybody? Well, once the actual health care insurance is in place, here's what it'll do. Okay,
we'll get rid of the wait for people.
Everybody in Vermont will have access to the same basic benefit package. But when I say everybody, it excludes Medicare, it excludes veterans, it excludes people on the federal health employee benefit program, and it excludes the self-insured companies like IBM who choose not to be part of it, but they can choose to be part of it if they want. So that's who it helps.
Okay, wait a second. So what do they care if they're on their own self-insured anyway? What do they care about?
Oh, they're claiming they're getting double tax because if they have to pay a payroll tax.
Oh, they would.
But here's the deal, and this is why what they're saying doesn't ring true. The plan that we developed, the whole point of it is it's to be cheaper than what's out there in the marketplace.
Yeah.
So I honestly believe not only is it going to be cheaper than what IBM is paying, but it's got to be at least as good as Medicaid, and that's incredible benefits. It won't have high deductibles. It won't, and if you talk to the IBM employees, the ones that did this press conference last week, a lot of their employees can't afford their insurance because it's so expensive. So
my health care insurance at the hospital is $450 a month.
Well, that's peanuts.
And I get a discount because of the wellness thing that I do.
But
well,
is that it?
We are just about
All
up.
right.
Our time is done. So good work again, Richard. Now, are you planning on going back up there?
I go every week.
Okay,
I would.
What's
I wanted,
Wednesday, your day?
Usually Wednesday because we have this coalition that meets. But let's see. Today is the 18th of April. The plan or the projected schedule now is that it'll go to maybe one more day in Senate Finance tomorrow, and then Senate Appropriations, which I didn't realize I had to go to, and then
anything that does with money, even though that there is no money in the bill, it's still
there is some money in the bill.
Oh, is there?
Well, the board,
there's a board for 50.
yeah.
That's right.
So the plan is the ambitious plan is to vote it out of the Senate at the end of this week. I think maybe they'll go over the next week, but the Senate floor debate may start at the end of the week. I'm going to try to be there for that.
That'll be interesting.
But you can listen to it on the radio, VPR.net.
VPR.
Yeah, and for those of you who are not easily bored, it'll be okay.
It's good background music.
Yeah.
Or not music.
No, I think it's going to be a good discussion because all the ideology is going to come out,
Yep.
and the right-wing people.
And this is where you're going to hear it. Yep.
Yeah, and it's worth listening
And
to.
it is, and it'll be interesting to see that first vote taken.
Yeah.
Well, Richard, thanks a lot for coming in again and letting us know what's going on in the healthcare debate up there in Montpelier, and thanks for all your hard work.
Well, thank you.
This is Daryl Pillsbury with another healthcare update, and I want to thank Joe Bushy, the guy who makes it all happen up there in the booth. Roland, if you're going to be doing my editing, thank you, and BCTV for putting this on. Thank you very much.